Hi, everybody. It's Owen again from Castle. So again from Castle. In our last session, we started to work on a competitive shopper app. And admittedly, we didn't get terribly far with it because giving you a tour of the application. And here we see what we were working on. And if I click on the gallery here again, you see that it's using the Site Inspector collection as its data source for the items that are in that gallery. And if you recall, we had to change the values in the text field for the text box 4_5, 4_3, and 4_2, so that it included the reference to this item. So it was this item dot title, this item dot subtitle, and this item dot address, city, state, and zip, so that we were able to get the data to show. And if you recall from the last session, or if assuming that you saw it, and if you didn't see it, you should go back and take a look at it, because there's some worthwhile information on how some of these different screens are put together. But if you recall, during that session, we worked on the edit inspection screen and we modified the save button here. Now, the intent that I originally had was to modify the save button so that it both updated the internal collections that are associated with this template out of the box, as well as the flow with the Power Automates that we had put together with the 3 different variables that are essentially the title field, the description field or the comment field, and then the image from this particular edit screen. So there originally was a command in this save button, which was the submit form. And so I copied it over from the template again. And so again, it's submit form, parentheses, form edit inspection. And now we have the semicolon here. So again, it's going to update the collection from the app internally. And then it's also going to update those values on the SharePoint list. And so if I go over to the SharePoint list, if you recall, there was this Power Apps demo list that we put together, where originally there was the Contoso Building 15 comments with the image string that we saw from the last session. That is populated by this flow here, where first we use the Power Apps as the trigger, and then we get the 3 variables from Power Apps of the title, the comments, and then in this case we called it the comment photo, and we put those variables into those fields of title, comments, and the image string. Right, and so that takes us back to where we were when we left off with our last session. Now what we're interested in doing is creating a landing screen that is better for this application for us than this one gallery here that has all of these site inspections already. Maybe we'd like to be able to distinguish between different types of buildings. Maybe we'd like to be able to distinguish between different types of campuses. And so you're welcome to put together the structure that you would like, because that's one of the beautiful things about Power Apps is that it's so incredibly flexible and powerful and robust at the same time. So I'm going to duplicate this first screen up here, simply so I can get a copy of that top banner. I want to make sure that I get the same color scheme and all that. And once I duplicate the screen, I'm going to move it up so it becomes the very top screen in my tree view over on the left. And then I'm going to rename that. So let's call it the home screen. Okay. And here on the home screen, I don't want this gallery. Okay. Instead, let's start with I don't know, a drop-down list of our different customers. Now, when I put this drop-down list right here, actually before we do any of those controls, let's throw in a label so they know where they are. So here's the label that was just added, and I'm going to change the text value of this to say something along the lines of "Welcome to the competitive shopper app." And let's close out that text and So, and if you want to change the formatting of that, if you want to change the font, the color, the size, the bold, italics, any of that, so you'll notice on the right edge of the screen here, whenever you click on one of the controls in the canvas that you're working on, you'll see the properties make themselves available for you to edit or manipulate. So again, if I click on the drop-down box here, I get a choice for the items. And now is when I'm going to take advantage of another data store. So if you recall, there are internal collections that this app is using. During session 1, we actually wired up our SharePoint list so that we could collect the images in the comments. I have taken the liberty of creating another SharePoint list, which I'm calling the Power Apps Demo Customers list. And it's just so that I have a data value available to see in my drop-down list. So I have already populated with a Fabricam example here from the East Coast location. And to call out to your attention, the customer list here is nothing more than the title field, which will be the name for the customer, and the location, which would be the sites where the picture is associated. Right? And so back into Power Apps here, the items I want to make available from my SharePoint list. So when I click on the drop-down list for items there, you see now one of the pieces here that's available to us is to add a data source. And the data source that we want to add is SharePoint. Oops, let's click in that search box and make it SharePoint. And so there's SharePoint, and specifically the URL is my Power Apps demo, and the list this time is the customer list. So I'll go ahead and click on OK. And now you'll see that as I look at the drop-down list here, you see the value over in the properties on the right edge is set to the compliance asset ID. And I don't want that to show. What I want is the customer title, right? And so there it is. There's Fabricam. Now you probably want to include other types of niceties, such as a blank choice, and you can sort through your list of customers so that they appear in an alphabetized list. Right now, they're just going to show up in a pretty ugly mapping according to how they show up in the SharePoint list that's there. Okay, and so once we have the drop-down list for the customer, we may also want to have a drop-down list for the sites that's associated with that customer. So I'll add another drop-down that's there. The items will also come from the demo customer list. And in this case, I want to make it the location, the customer location, and I want to make it depend on, I've already suggested to you that you want to rename your controls so that they mean something better than how they are labeled out of the box when you just add them. So in this case, I'm going to click on this drop down, and this is the, let's call it, rather than customer, let's call it the brand name location. Okay. That label that's there, this is just the page label, so let's call it the page label. Here, the Power Apps demo customer list is providing the values for this dropdown here. And if I did not tell this value to depend on the the dropdown window above it, then I would see all the lists that are available. So you make this one dependent upon the brand name dropdown, the title, and have it matching on the Power Apps customers, the title. Click on apply, update the formula. And so now if we preview this, we see that if we choose Fabricam as the customer, we'll see that it has the East Coast as the location. Right? So that's great for using a customer and a location that already exists Well, let's say that we need to add a new customer or a new location or a new brand or a new location. So let's throw in some buttons to do that. Now, as we are doing this, as we're building this application, understand that there's many ways that you can approach these design decisions that we are making on the fly here. So this may not necessarily be the best design for it, but it is an approach that one can take, is to have a button for a new brand, for instance, and then you can have another button for the new location. And below that, we can throw in a text input field. We're going to change the value of this text input to nothing, and we're going to change the hint text to read enter new name here. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this same text input box, and so let's rename this text input box for either the new brand or the new location. So this would be the new, and then what we're going to do is we're going to change the statements here on these buttons to update the SharePoint. We're going to throw in a patch statement so that in this case, it will patch the data or the information to on the SharePoint list to reflect the new name for the brand. And in this case, it's going to be a patch for the location. Actually, let's change the name of it over here first. Let's call it the new brand. New branch, put the new brand button. And this other one here, the button 6, is the new location button. So let's rename that. New location button. Okay, and then for the new brand button, we're going to click in the on select, and what we're doing is we are making a new patch or a new record in the Power Apps Demo Customer SharePoint list. So that's the source. And we want to say defaults, and the defaults is for the Power Apps Demo Customer list. All right, and the updates we're going to give it is, let's see, the title is going to be equal to, this is for the new brand, so the title is this new text box. So it's the new text input dot text. The location, let's throw in a value. That's, we don't know. Okay, and so there's the update, there's the closing parens, and we hit enter. Okay, so now if we take a look at the SharePoint list, again, it's looking to update the Power Apps Demo customers. So if I go over to Power Apps Demo customers and I refresh this, we see that it is still just the one item that's there. When I click on this button when the app is running, it's going to patch the new information that we see into the SharePoint list that's there. So let's go ahead and click on preview, and we want to create a new customer here. So this will be, let's say, Johnny lately, and I click on the new brand button. And so now if I close this out and I go back over to my SharePoint list and I refresh this list, so I didn't have to refresh it, it was there already. You see that it's populated the Johnny Come Lately with the customer location of NA. That's if I go back to my Power App and I simply copy this same patch statement and I apply it to this button for the location instead. And now instead of using the new inputs for the title, I'm going to use it for the customer location. And now what I'm going to do for the customer themselves, for the title, I'm going to make the title equal to the brand name dropdown. So let's make it equal to the brand name dropdown. The brand name dropdown is the title. Selected title. And so now we'll close out that updates. We'll close out that that command statement. Hit enter. Okay, so now what it looks like we're going to do is we're going to update the location with this value that's here, depending upon what's in the list that's there. Right, so when I click on the preview here, when I click on the drop-down list, I should see Fabricam and Johnny Come Lately. So there is, in fact, a Johnny Come Lately that is showing me only the locations for Johnny Come Lately. I want to add a new location for Johnny, and this will be my first inspection sites location. And now I'll click on the new location there. And you see that the drop-down window is reset, but if I choose Johnny Come Lately, and I go looking for my drop-down lists based upon the Johnny Come Lately, we see the first inspection site showing up. Now, again, since we're doing this on the fly and we're changing things pretty quickly, you notice there that there were 2 Johnny Come Latelys because we're grabbing every single list in the SharePoint, or excuse me, every single item that's in the SharePoint list there. And so what we want are the unique values for that list. So let's go back here. And let's stop the preview from running. So if you only want to see one of each of the unique values that's in that title column, then what we need to do is we need to get the distinct values for those. So we'll click on that text field there, and we will again be looking to put in the distinct command, and we want the source to be the demo customers, and the expression that we want is again the title. We want the title from that. So scroll down all the way to title and close that out. Oh, this right here, it's not the brand name drop down selected, it's the right. So now that I've got these 2 buttons in place here for the new brand and the new location, again, I can go run this and preview it. If I choose the Fabricam, I only see the locations that are associated with this. And you know, it's a little hard to keep those straight. So let's throw in a couple of labels there real quick. So we have the label for, this would be the and name, and then let's call this next one down here. Just copied that, and let's call this next one down here. Let's call that one the okay. So now when we run that, we can see that we're looking at the brand name, Fabricam, the location name is the East Coast. So again, we only have these 2 choices here for the Fabricam. So let's add a new inspection site for Fabricam. So this is Fabricam West, for instance. And we want that to be the location. So we click the location piece there. And now if I go looking at my choices, Johnny Come Lately has the drop-down choice of NA in the first inspection site, and Fabricam, if I choose that, has the East Coast and Fabricam West. And so that again gives me the different brand names or customer names and the associated location names for the competitive shopper. You know, if I go look at the SharePoint lists, you see that those values are populating there from the flow. So it's all working very nicely to put together the metadata for each of the inspections that I might want to do. And now the next thing, the navigation to a new comment for these particular sites and locations. Let's add a button for a new inspection. So we're going to change the text here to read new inspection, and this is going to be when we'll want to navigate to the new page. So effectively, what this button here is the same as this piece up here. Because if you recall, we duplicated the screen from the dashboard screen, and the original template used this as essentially the new item. So if I go back to the home screen here, I have this plus sign up here, and it has the command that I'll want to use for that new inspection. All right, so let's just highlight all of this. Control A to highlight it all, Control C to highlight that. Click on new inspection, and for the on select command, we're going to change all that. All right. If instead of a new inspection, you want to add a new comment or a new item to an inspection piece, that would be another layer of detail that you could drill down on. But for now, I have that new inspection piece. So if you notice here, it's got the new record true and the new form with the new form new inspection. These are variables that are being passed on the navigation to the new inspection screen. So if I go to the new inspection screen, let's see what information is there. I need to have a title and a subtitle as mandatory fields. So again, if I go back to this screen here, the new inspection, those fields will be blank initially, but I want to, when we navigate, we're going to include additional context variables. So let's see, we want not only that one, brand name is going to be equal to the brand name dropdown dot result. All right, so we want the brand name to be that, the location name to be the subtitle. Location name to be the location dropdown. And that one, we want it to be the selected, that's the site location. Customer location. Right, so what this is saying, just to make it clear for us, when we click on that new inspection button, it is going to clear out the collection of camera photos. It's going to navigate to the new inspection screen, and it's going to fade in the transition as it does that. And it's going to pass along some context variables that the new record is true. And it's going to have this thing called brand name now, and it's going to have something called location name, which is the pieces that we just added. And then it's going to create a new form for the form new inspection. All right, so that's the command from this page, and now I just need to go to the new inspection screen. When it first comes in, that the titles for these can be the parent's defaults is how it comes from the templates out of the box, but instead I want this to be the brand name. All right, that's the context variable, and I want the value for this here to be location name. Okay. So right now, those fields are broken as far as if you launch this form or this page from this dashboard screen that's here, for instance. Now, if you click on that plus sign, because this plus sign on this page does not pass through the variables, the context variables that we are now getting from this home screen that's here. All right. So remember that if you try and debug this and you don't come at this the right way. So again, right now, I'm going to go ahead and preview this. I'm going to run this, and we want to create a new inspection for the Fabricam and the Fabricam West location. Since those are the pieces that are selected there, it should be the context variables that get passed through. And sure enough, when we come into this page here, you see that it's the Fabricam with the Fabricam West subtitles. We can include whatever observations we want and add the pictures as we discussed in the first session, and then save that information. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and click on save there. Oh, and it doesn't like something that I did. What doesn't it like? All right, so It probably doesn't like the fact that this needs to be. Once again, I have left this location information off. I always get stuck with that error message. So you can be pretty comfortable with this technology and still make the same mistake over and over and over again. So I've just clicked save there, and now notice that my Fabricam entry is included in that gallery. So for now, thank you very much for coming along with us for adding a home screen to our competitive shopper app. We'll do one more session on this competitive shopper app, which is to clean up the pieces that were not so that were kind of the loose ends from what we've done here so far. But so far you can see that it doesn't take much, it doesn't take long to put together a pretty productive application using the out-of-the-box template tools from Power Apps. Oh, by the way, if this was helpful for you, please consider subscribing to our channel so that you can make sure that you get alerted for the next time we put one of these videos together. See you soon.